Hello, I'm Christy Henshaw. I manage the digitization program at the Wellcome Library in London in the UK. And I'm going to show you some of the things that we do with IIIF. So we are, if you haven't heard of us before, we're associated with the Wellcome Trust, which is a big biomedical charity based in London. And we're quite a small part of that, but it explains why we're a subject specialist library. So we're mostly focused on history of medicine, wider medical history. We're a research library and a special collections library. So we have lots and lots of different kinds of content: books, journals, paintings, drawings, manuscripts, archives, videos, all kinds of things. And if you know anything about the Wellcome Trust, you know the Wellcome Trust is very pro-open access. So that, of course, filters into what we do in the Wellcome Library in terms of making our content available. So the vision for the Wellcome Library is we're a physical research destination. We have an actual building. You can come and visit us in London for free. But we're also, as part of our core mission, developing a digital library. And we started this several years ago. And in fact, we started just a couple of years before IIIF really came on the scene. So we started developing a digital library to cope with mass digitization. And then we kind of cottoned on to IIIF, and we could see the benefits pretty much immediately. So we started making some changes to how we do things in order to implement IIIF. And we're now pretty much there in terms of the basic services. We still have a little ways to go. There are still new services coming on. Some of the aspects are still in development. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of what we're doing with it. So just to give you an idea of the scope, the scale and the scope of what we're doing, we have digitized and ingested around 25 million images, or in the process of ingesting, into our digital library. A lot of that is book pages, because obviously that's easy, cheap, and it's something you can do a lot of in a short period of time. So a lot of that is book pages, but that comes from book serials and grey literature, and as you know, those are all very different types of content to deal with. Lots of images from early printed books, archives, artworks, and lots of video. So we're interested in the full range of what IIIF can do for that content. So I'm just going to go online and quickly, hopefully these links will work, and show you some of what we're doing. So this is a medieval manuscript. We're digitizing about 300 of them, and we're about halfway through. And what I wanted to show you here in terms of the use of IIIF is, yes, the image, we're using the image API. All the images are all available through the IIIF API. But what we're using here, and it's really clear, is the presentation API and some of the aspects and the benefits of the presentation API, is that we can describe this content in a way that allows you to jump to specific parts of the manuscript. Now, of course, someone had to go through and create all of these sections. But now that we've done that, we can share the information with anybody in a common language, and anyone can then make use of this. And they can use the whole manuscript or specific ranges of the manuscript that correspond to one of these sections. And here's the OpenSeaDragon viewer. This is the universal viewer, which you're going to hear a lot more about later on. So that was a medieval manuscript. The next thing I want to show is a different way of using the presentation API. This is a journal. Well, it's a trade journal, so it's not like your typical academic journal with articles. So we couldn't digitize this and then just make it available at the article level. We instead had to treat it more like grey literature or something along those lines. So what we've got here is actually a collection of items, so a collection of issues of the journal, and using the collection property within IIIF, we can create a collection of something like a series of journals. We could also use this for something like a multi-volume work. So we use IIIF collections for that. And again, this is stuff we've always been able to do, but now we can do it in a common language that other people can actually understand, use, and make use of, and understand how our content actually works and what it looks like. So here you can see we can organize by both volume and date. And you can navigate through and look. And here you can also see we've got a search within, and that's using the search API and the OCR software. And next, I'm just going to show you, we have digitized, is this going to open? This did open earlier. Oh. Yes, okay. Okay, so we have digitized some gray literature, and we are continuing to digitize gray literature. And this is an example of a population health report. I was just at the Tenement Museum, and they were talking about the sanitary reports for New York City, and I got very excited because we've just digitized a whole bunch for London, and it'd be really interesting to compare them. Maybe they'll be digitized someday and made available through IIIF. Anyway, so we digitized all this gray literature, and it has a lot of population health statistics in it. So how does IIIF help us with this? Well, first of all, we can make the images available, and we can make the full text available in the usual ways through IIIF, but also we've got this kind of information. So what we've done is when we digitized it, we kind of extracted the text, the tables, and we created XML versions of those, and you can download those and use them in a spreadsheet, or you can view them online like this. Now, we're not doing this just yet, I don't think. We're not quite able to do this, but what IIIF allows us to do is to connect this with the images as annotations. So people can then use these using a standard annotation model and can use and access this kind of information. So any kind of information that you might want to attach to your content, you can attach as an annotation. So this is one of the uses we're going to do when it comes to annotations. And then I'm just going to quickly show you another. I'm not actually going to go online for this one, but we have digitized a lot of recipe manuscripts. Now, recipe books are very interesting, very popular, and they seem like a really good candidate for transcription. But we have a lot of them. We have hundreds and hundreds of them. So we can't really afford to go out and pay someone to transcribe them all. So we're looking at crowdsourcing opportunities. And IIIF can really help with that, because not only will the text of the crowdsourcing can be made available as annotations once it's created, but it allows us to interoperate with crowdsourcing platforms potentially. We could be having our manuscripts crowdsourced along with someone else's recipe manuscripts. You know, we can start to bring things together for an activity like crowdsourcing. And so we're not really quite there yet. Nobody's quite there yet with crowdsourcing, but it is possible, I think, to improve how we do crowdsourcing and to move out of silos of crowdsourcing with IIIF. And then Tom briefly mentioned that there's an Authentication API. So what that allows you to do is to, as you're sharing your images, you're also sharing the restrictions on those images, because however open we may want to be, sometimes we still have to put some kind of restriction on. So we have a click-through for a lot of our archival material, because we have a lot of medical archives or archives with personal information or private information, and they may be very bitty, scattered within an archive, but we'd really like to make that available. So what we do is we just make people aware that there may be private information in there that we haven't been able to weed out because we're doing mass digitization. We can't look at every single piece of paper. And IIIF allows us to pass that along, so that it gives us a little bit of comfort that if somebody's using our images, they're also understanding the restrictions that come with that. So we're able to use that. So for example, in this case, you just need to click on accept terms and open, and you can actually read you can see the content. In other cases, it might actually be restricted to you, and you may not be able to look at it. And this one I'm going to try again, but the link didn't work earlier. What I wanted to show here was what you can do with IIIF. Okay, let me just try again. No. I can't seem to copy and paste. I think I just removed it. Anyways, I'm not used to using a Mac. It's a shame, because I wanted to show this to you. It's just gone away completely. Okay, so this is a screen grab from a web page that I can't show you, but what we've done is we've got this test website called alpha.welcomelibrary.org, and it's where we're playing around with different ways of accessing our content other than a single search box or a complicated library catalog. And it's more about browsing and viewing collections in context and seeing information about those collections on a page. So what we've done is we've mashed up things like MESH headings, medical subject headings, or Library of Congress subject headings and their definitions, Wikipedia descriptions, images of people from Wikipedia, which we can pull in, and then we can also make use of the IIIF collections, where we could have, say, collections of all of our cookery books, and these are some of the cookery books that we've digitized. And we can mash all that together in a single web page to give you a sense of what we have in terms of cookery or cookbooks. And we can create those completely automatically and on the fly. So I would show you the website, although it's not very pretty because it is just a test and we're just playing around with things and experimenting. But we're using in IIIF internally to drive those kinds of things. And of course, anyone could take that collection manifest and use the IIIF API to do very similar things with our content. And we really want people to do that with our content. And I think that's me finished. So hopefully that's given you some examples of how a library might use IIIF.